Audience exclusive.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Beautiful Subconscious. I'm your host, Shel Marie. Today's episode, we're talking all about families. They will be our final frontier. P.S. Happy Holidays, which is coming up. So we understand that families can be our most beautiful interactions and they can be the most triggering. What I love is when I get together with my family, it's just like we get our kind of crazy. It's just like, I get you, you get me. There's a part of us that's just crazy that only people of this genetics would understand. And I know everybody else would be thinking that in their own family dynamics. But simultaneously, what can happen is we are noticing that there's still some old circuitry that can play up, especially, at this time of year, if you're, catching up with your family, around Christmas or the holidays, you can notice that things can have a little pressure around it and you can go into it a little bit anxious because you're like, oh, I don't want to have to deal with that auntie or, the way that that person speaks. It sometimes it can be a space of really being uncomfortable. And so the reason why that can be is with families, we're dealing with so much more circuitry. We're dealing with denser circuitry and we're dealing with complex circuitry. And what I mean by that is we have spent a majority of all of our lives growing up with these people that are growing with them. They're coming from their survival-based emotions and with their minimal awareness too. And you're interfacing and you're creating your own web of reactions and imprints of that reaction and how you are viewing that person at that time. And even though it may not be consciously still in the forefront of your mind, that's still in your subconscious and that can still taint how you show up and what you see in that moment when old triggers or those old circuitries start to get fired up. So we are dealing with years, lifetimes of the way that you have exchanged. And even though you may feel like those particular reactions have been neutralized in other areas of your life, say, at work, you're feeling pretty good, you can hold everything together, you're minimally triggered, or in your current relationship or in other areas of your friend groups, whatever it is, but it's like your family. It's like, why anyone else, I'm good. But when it comes to these people or this person or whatever it is, they are the ones that really spark up something like that's come from, the depths. And so that is because it is sparking up denser circuitry. It's sparking up complex circuitry and it's firing up every coping strategy that you had in place of keeping yourself safe. But please know that these triggers are not to discourage you in thinking that you're never going to get over them or you haven't made progress. That is not the case. That is not the truth. You have made progress. You have made progress on the way that you respond and the way that you have neutralized reactive coping mechanism and protective behavior within yourself. And that could look like upholding more boundaries in other areas of your life. It could mean holding back. It could mean in terms of holding back and not being reactive. It can show up in ways where you're like, hey, I'm not wanting to put myself in situations like that anymore. But what's the beauty of these triggers and when they show up in our family situations is it's an opportunity as we are aware of growth. It's showing like, hey, cool, I am feeling aware that this is the next level of it. I've allowed myself to neutralize it in other areas of my life. I feel really good. I've stabilized this. I'm no longer in an activated state. And now with my family, I am ready and I feel structurally sound in my energy and in my subconscious to now look at these triggers with my family and start to really now investigate the deeper circuitries in order to bring them up, in order to neutralize them, in order to integrate, in order to rise. When these reactions show up, just know that they are absolutely here to be resolved. They can be resolved. They will be resolved. And they're in the process of being resolved. Lean into the temporary intensity and do your best to hold your highest integrity, because I promise you, by holding onto your worthiness for peace and harmony, you are rewriting the script for your family dynamic. It may look like things are in flames around you, but coming home to your own integrity and coming home to what you believe is right and speaking and replying back from that more integral version of yourself is changing and rewriting the family dynamic, not just for you, but for the people in your family too. They may be coming back at you with triggers and you might be like, oh, this is poking me so much. But if you hold that highest regard to your version of how you want to show up and keep coming back home to that version, you are rewriting the dynamics. You are taking yourself from the path that you have all walked down generation after generation, and you're starting to create a new footpath, and you're walking down it time and time again. They may jump on it for a second and jump back off and go down the old line, but just know by you staying on that track, you're inviting them, you are paving the way to rewriting a new pathway for your family. They can choose to jump on board that, but either way, just by you doing it, you are giving them another option to choose, whether they are consciously aware of that or not. So it may also mean, though, you may feel like you're dealing with shitty behavior because you're like, I'm letting them talk to me like shit, but I'm not allowing myself to come back at them. And that can feel like so frustrating. But just know, like in the beautiful words of Michelle Obama, when they go low, and in this regard, when they default back to their lowest emotional anchors, you go high, which means you're holding yourself to your highest version. At some point, these polarities will need to crack and a new dynamic will be established. And so this new dynamic will be of a more equalized version. It happens time and time again. It may not feel like it if it takes more than once or more than one Christmas or more than, a few years. But I assure you, the more you keep honoring yourself and coming home to your integrity and showing up in that light as best as you can in your family environment, the more you are creating that pathway to walk down and offer that as an option for themselves. It may feel lonely. It may feel like you're the only one going down it. You may feel like the black sheep of your family. But when you know that on some level, you have all chosen each other on this journey, you've soul selected each other as siblings or parents or as aunties and uncles and cousins. And so if you just know that on some level you're doing them a service because they chose this in some way, the more you stay true to you, the more you can allow them to do that for themselves, which will mean that they will come from a shadow version or a reactive blinkered version and come to a more conscious version that's aligned to what they deserve, which is love, which is peace, which is self-worth, which is care, which is connection, which is this beautiful exchange of acceptance. So through this holiday period, I invite you just to know what it is that you value. How do you want to show up? Like write it down, feel it in yourself, like really connect into that version of you and just do your best to show up, whether it's, at Christmas or at work or wherever it is. Just that is the best way to allow yourself to really rewrite some of those more complex dynamics into a version that you deserve and desire for not only you, but for your family and the generations to come. So what a ride this has been. Let me know what you've taken from this episode. I would love to hear your thoughts, share it around as we're creeping into the holiday season. I hope you're taking care of you. I hope you're honoring yourself and give yourself the gift of wellness too. Keep coming home to you, keep coming home to your highest integrity. And from that space, you are giving to the ones that you care about most. Sending you all the love. And until next time, take care of you.